One time, while King Chitraketu was traveling in outer space on a brilliant effulgent airplane given to him by Lord Vishnu, he saw Lord Shiva surrounded by sadhus, surrounded by siddhas and chalanas. Lord Shiva was sitting in an assembly of greatly saintly personalities and embracing Parvati on his lap with his arm. Chitraketu laughed loudly and spoke within the hearing of Parvati. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Das Thakur says in this connection, the purpose is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead wanted to bring Chitraketu to Vaikuntha Loka as soon as possible. The Lord's plan was that Chitraketu be cursed by Parvati to become Vritrasura, so that in the next life he could quickly return home, back to Godhead. There have been many instances in which a devotee acting as a demon has been brought to the kingdom of God by the mercy of the Lord. For Parvati to be embraced by Lord Shiva was natural in a relationship between husband and wife. This was nothing extraordinary for Chitraketu to see. Nonetheless, Chitraketu laughed loudly to see Lord Shiva in that situation, even though he should not have done so. Thus he was eventually cursed, and this curse was the cause of his returning home, back to Godhead. Chitraketu said, Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of the general populace, is the best of all living entities who have accepted material bodies. He enunciates the system of religion, yet how wonderful is it that he embraces his wife Parvati in the midst of an assembly of great saintly persons. Lord Shiva, whose hair is matted on his head, has certainly undergone great austerities and penances. Indeed, he is the president in the assembly of strict followers of the Vedic principle. Nonetheless, he is seated with his wife on his lap in the midst of saintly person, as embracing her, as if he were a shameless, ordinary human being. Ordinary conditioned persons generally embrace their wives and enjoy their company in solitary places. How wonderful it is that Lord Mahadev, also great master of austerity, is embracing his wife openly in the midst of an assembly of great saints. Srila Sukha Goswami continued, My dear king, after hearing Chitraketu's statement, Lord Shiva, the most powerful personality whose knowledge is fathomless, simply smiled and remained silent, and all the members of the assembly followed the Lord by not saying anything. Chitraketu's purpose in criticizing Lord Shiva is somewhat mysterious and cannot be understood by a common man. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, however, has made the following observation. Lord Shiva, being the most exalted Vaishnava, one of the most powerful demigods, is able to do anything he desires. Also, he was externally exhibiting the behavior of a common man. Such action cannot diminish his exalted position. The difficulty is that a common man, seeing Lord Shiva's behavior, may follow his example. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Yatyata Chartisha estas tatat evetero jana, sayat pramatam kurute, lokastat anuvartate. Not knowing the prowess of Lord Shiva and Parvati, Chitraketu strongly criticized them. His statements were not at all pleasing, and therefore the goddess Parvati, being very angry, spoke as follows to Chitraketu, who thought himself better than Lord Shiva in controlling the senses. The goddess Parvati said, "Alas, has this upstart now received a post from which to punish shameless persons like us? Has he been appointed ruler, carrier of the rod of punishment? Is he now the only master of everything?" After Lord Brahma, who has taken his birth from the lotus flower, does not know the principles of religion, nor do the great saints like Bhrigu and Narada, nor the 4 Kumaras headed by Sanat Kumara. Manu and Kapila have also forgotten the religious principle. I suppose it to be because of this that they have not tried to stop Lord Shiva from behaving improperly. This Chitraketu is the lowest of Kshatriya, for he has impudently overridden Brahma and the other demigods by insulting Lord Shiva, upon whose lotus feet they always meditate. Lord Shiva is personified religion and the spiritual master of the entire world, and therefore Chitraketu must be punished. This person is puffed up because of his achievements, thinking, "I am the best." He does not deserve to approach the shelter of Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, which are worshipped by all saintly persons, for he is impudent, thinking himself greatly important. O impudent one, my dear son, now take birth in a low sinful family of demons, so that you will not commit such an offense again towards exalted saintly persons in this world. Prabhupada explains, one should be very careful not to commit offenses at the lotus feet of Vaishnavas, of whom Lord Shiva is the best. While instructing Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described an offense at the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas as Hati Mata, a mad elephant. When a mad elephant enters a nice garden, it spoils the entire garden. Similarly, if one becomes like a mad elephant and commits offenses at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, his entire spiritual career is halted. One should therefore be very careful not to commit offenses at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Mother Parvati was justified in punishing Chitraketu, for Chitraketu impudently criticized the Supreme Father Mahadeva, who is the father of the living entities conditioned within the material world. The goddess Durga is called Mother, and Lord Shiva is called Father. A pure Vaishnava should be very careful to engage in his specific duty without criticizing others. This is the safest position. Otherwise, if one tends to criticize others, he may commit the great offense of criticizing a Vaishnava. Because Chitraketu was undoubtedly a Vaishnava, he might have been surprised that Parvati had cursed him. Therefore the goddess Parvati addresses him as Putra, or son. Everyone is the son of Mother Durga, but she is not an ordinary mother. As soon as there is some small discrepancy in a demon's behavior, Mother Durga immediately punishes the demon so that he may come to his senses. This is explained by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. by those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. To surrender to Krishna means to surrender to his devotees also, for no one can be a proper servant of Krishna unless he is a proper servant of the devotees. Chadiya vaisnava seva nishtara peyetchikeva. Without serving a servant of Krishna, one cannot be elevated to being a servant of Krishna himself. Therefore, Mother Parvati spoke to Chitraketu exactly like a mother who says to a naughty child, "My dear child, I am punishing you so that you won't do anything like this again." The tendency of a mother to punish her child is found even in Mother Yashoda, who became the mother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mother Yashoda punished Krishna by binding him and showing him a stick. Thus, it is a duty of a mother to chastise her beloved son. Even in the case of the Supreme Lord, it is to be understood that Mother Durga was justified in punishing Chitraketu. The punishment was a boon to Chitraketu because after taking birth as the demon Vritrasura, he was promoted directly to Vaikuntha. This is a very important instruction. The mentality of criticizing other people. The mentality of minimizing other people. The mentality of showing oneself to be superior to others is all of offensive attitude and brings only doom to oneself. We cannot aspire to get pure love for God if we go around offending other devotees. The devotees of Lord Krishna, they are very dear to him. And criticizing them is very, very dangerous. But there may be circumstances where the ill behavior, the misbehavior of a certain devotee has to be pointed out in order to correct them or in order to warn others from that particular misunderstanding. But as we are reading here this morning, this is the razor's edge. One article Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote, I don't exactly remember the name of the article, but he said one should not criticize a devotee ever. But in the same article he also says, but if we don't point out the mistakes which others commit, just in order not to criticize, then we do not do the right thing either. Because somebody has to keep the record straight of what is right and what is wrong. So, very humbly we have to defend the line of pure devotion. What we are talking about here is so much of a reality, incredible reality, that we have seen in our lifetime people who had many disciples and many spiritual services accomplished, being removed from their supremely prestigious and respected and beloved position, all the way to be disgraced and recognized as fake, even by the general public, what to speak by their followers and friends. So we are not talking theory here. What Chitraketu did by laughing about Lord Shiva, sitting with his wife on his lap and hugging her, this is, you could say, a minor offense. He laughed about it. He said, oh, he shouldn't do that in an assembly. He should be more concerned that he keep his personal relationship with his wife in privacy. But Chitraketu made the absolute blunder. As we see, he was cursed to be born as a demon because of that. But because he had been an elevated soul, and because the curse of the Supreme Lord's agents are always blessings in disguise, finally he was benefited by it. But nevertheless, he also went into the history for being chastised for his arrogance. Actually, he is being ridiculed that from such a, imagine what position he had, that the Lord had given him an airplane to travel around outer space, to visit such places as where Lord Shiva is. Can you imagine what power, how much piety Lord Chitraketu must have had to achieve such a position? That is something like Narada Muni getting a veena to be able to travel anywhere with, and being given to him by the Supreme Lord. So in one way, we could say the Supreme Lord gave him all that facilities to show the glories of Lord Shiva and Parvati, and to make a statement. You can get a very high post, but you will be slashed and smashed if you misuse that. He was flying around in an airplane. Well, what many devotees are doing nowadays, they're also flying around in airplanes. So it's not that abstract finally. And when you fly around in airplanes from one place to the other, you may think, oh, I'm a very special person. I remember when we first came to India, many of my god brothers, we were very proud because of Srila Prabhupada. We thought we were really the happening mission. Not necessarily everyone was proud, but the general attitude was, wow. And then we looked at some other temples, we thought, oh boy, they should get some color and repaint their buildings. Or we would go and look at all the Matajis who are running out on parikrama in their Braj or Gormandal parikramas. And we thought, oh, look at them, how they are running around. And we could not understand that these are great devotees who have been devotees, maybe some of them from their birth, and have had so much piety, never eaten meat in their life and anything like that. And we were, what Parvati said, the newcomers. Who's this upspring? Who's this newcomer who thinks himself advanced? Yeah, he thinks he can criticize Lord Shiva. Ah, very good. Come here, my dear son. Now I'll give you a lesson that you don't go on doing so much nonsense in your life. You take birth as a demon. That is what you have to experience. All your glory will be vanquished by this offense you have just committed. So, offending a devotee is really such a serious thing. It is so serious, one does not know what to do. If you offend devotees, now, here we have two theories. The one is, yes, we should not offend an acharya. We should not offend a great preacher. And then there's another interpretation, which says, you are in a very dangerous position if you offend anyone. If you offend a simple new devotee in the temple, is also counted as a very serious offense. The offenses, there are so many varieties of offenses. Putting others in anxiety from the position of leadership, that is a great serious offense. Actually, offenses are of so many kinds. There's offenses in action, offenses in talk, and offenses in the mind. To think badly about somebody else is also an offense. So in one way or other, we may think, ooh, this is a very complicated world. Because in this world, usually when we criticize somebody else, it gives us a feeling of, oh, I'm superior. I'm better than him. But don't be so sure of it. If any type of pride invades your mental system, or arrogance, or any mundane thought, it is terrible. It is very terrible. So, how can a person be so sure about himself and minimize others, look down upon others, or speak harshly about others or to others? It's very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. But then again, Srila Prabhupada writes in the Srimad, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita purpose, sometimes demon, they come into the society of Vaishnavas. They dress dhotis, they put tilak, and they come in and they create havoc inside the Vaishnava community. So how to deal with that? And you may think, oh, maybe he's a great Vaishnava and I should not say anything what bad thing he's doing. Prabhupada said, well, to call a thief is not an offense. Those who are going against the conclusion of the Vaishnava Siddhanta, this is not nice at all. This is not to be tolerated either. So there is a thin line, and we have to be very careful not to cross over that thin line, to point out the true defects in somebody for the sake of clarification and education may be required. Even to reject somebody's behavior which is not appropriately Vaishnava may also be applicable. But at the same time, if you criticize somebody unduly, then you will be severely chastised for it. And if one is in this easy and quick judgmental mentality, oh, these people, oh, that person, oh, no, they don't know, oh, very dangerous mentality. Actually, the Lord has not made it easy to be honest. Because in the environment of spiritual families, complications do arise. Misappropriation does occur. Misinterpretations do appear. Different ways of seeing the Shastras and what their meaning is for our practical life do make their appearance. And the people in between do not know exactly what to do and where to turn and how to act and how to react. So, we can only pray very seriously to the lotus feet of our spiritual master to guide us, please, so that we will not commit the blunder of the mad elephant offense of vaishnava aparadha. Never a devotee should make others feel bad who are sincerely trying to advance on this path. We should always be very cautious that our words are having an encouraging effect and that we are sufficiently private. Specifically, one of the biggest offenses is to disturb somebody's faith. That is a very delicate thing. Because if you do so, what will happen? That is, your own faith will be in shambles. The faith is something very delicate and very precious. It is something so valuable, hard to find words, the appropriate words for it. Such a delicate thing it is. So, can you imagine this? The faith of others. Even those who have faith in other religions, one should not be eager to jump on them. In a very nice philosophical discussion, we may question certain teachings and that, but we should not go around simply attacking people's faith, because by doing so, our own faith will also be in danger. So, this example is one of many. Srila BA Paramadvaiti Maharaj, he wrote this famous book, The Heart of Krishna, where he went into all details describing the different offenses which devotees have done and what reactions they had to pay for due to those offenses. This book is not very popular, unfortunately. Gokeshwar tells me very few people want to buy that book, whereas other books, they are very popular. Anyhow, I suppose it is because people don't want to commit any offense, so they don't even want to read about them. But the fact is that we should be very aware that as devotees, we should never talk in any way which will make other people unhappy about Krishna consciousness. That should be the basic rule. You can do many things in life, but never talk about anything which makes the other person feel, oh, I lose my joy in Krishna consciousness. I lose my faith in my guru, or anything like that, you know. This is very harmful for one's spiritual advancement. we should be so cautious that we may actually do the right thing in life. And, life is quite long when it comes to the tests we have to pass. It's funny, when you think about all the wonderful things you may get or experience in this life, life appears so short. But when you think about all the austerities you have to do, and all the trials you have to go through, and all the pains to experience, then all of a sudden life appears to be so long. So, as it's a relative perception, quite obviously. But matter of fact, do not offend others is a need for those who want to make their spiritual life successful. It should be taken with utmost precaution that we are the agents of the Lord of love. So our action ought to be loving. The impact we are creating in others must be the impact of increasing joy and love. There's no way we can tolerate if any devotee is put into hardship, any devotee is given some very unhappy life due to the fault of somebody else. I have personally observed that many people become so indifferent and so superficial and negligent with their spiritual life that sometimes their own participation in the community becomes more a disturbance than a help. And then when somebody tries to say something to them, they turn immediately in an aggressive mood, like, who are you to tell us anything? Or like that. To conduct a spiritual community is very big task to accomplish. It's not easy. Any temple commander can sing a song about that. When you want to engage 10 people living in a community in devotional service, you mean that everybody actually has a performance, a contribution to the community which justifies being there, so to speak. That is such an art. Practically the temple commander has to know how to massage the mind of each individual to get him into the mood of contribution. Of course, such activities are not required when devotees are advanced and have some comprehension of spontaneous participation, of being responsible. Some devotees, they surely do not fit into this category of being difficult to be engaged. But certainly in the neophyte stage, invaded by envy and lust and laziness, easily it comes into a certain unpleasant situation when you try to engage somebody else. They are reluctant, they are evasive, they're escapists, they're all kinds of strange things. So if you are the person who's the temple commander, you'll be crying. So it's a reality. I've seen it in 36 years of community life, so at least a little experience I can say I have about that. And it is also true what Prabhupada writes. Sometimes people are in the temple not for the cause of the temple, they just want to take advantage. And of them, they're in two categories. The one who just wants to take advantage immediately and steal something or just live at the cost of others. And the other, number 2, he actually wants to go into the temple, play the game of being a good devotee until he gets a nice post in the devotional community, and then he starts his nefarious activities of taking advantage of the spiritual mechanism of donations and volunteers coming, and they want to utilize them systematically for their own selfish purpose. Again, these things do exist. They are not joyful to announce, but from the personal experience, I've seen it, and I've also seen how Krishna chastises such mentalities later on. Nobody goes doing nonsense and not getting some reaction. In that sense, Parvati, Mother Durga, is surely an accomplished mistress of the whole world. She has this master position of putting everybody into the jail of material existence. And if you do anything which is not appropriate, then you will surely have to respond to Durga's rectification process. And her rectification process means you have to suffer in your own life at least what you did with others. Thus, it is very important for us to understand that the offense to any devotee is detrimental. Do not speak harshly to anybody. If you see somebody's doing the wrong thing, speak softly and clearly. Make clear what's wrong. Remain in the mode of goodness always. Do not lose your temperament and become, even if somebody reacts in the modes of nature of ignorance and passion, don't fall into the same mood. Guard yourself in the land of dedication to the Lord's purpose. Trinatapi sunichina. That is the clear instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know it, we have heard it 1 million times, and still the least understood of all mantras. Because it's easy to become angry, it's easy to be proud, it's easy to have some puffed up mentality. This is part of this world. So the only way we get out of this world is by grace, divine grace. So I beg all of you from the heart of my soul, make these communities successful by avoiding the vaishnava aparadha amongst all of you. Don't get on each other's case. If any, then approach the other's heart. Remain on the level of heart-to-heart communication. And if somebody goes wrong, last not least, it is their own problem. Because if somebody goes wrong, it's his own problem he's producing. And if you see somebody's doing things wrong to others, then do not hesitate to intervene in that humble and goodness-like way and say, you cannot do harm to others. This is not permissible in the Guru's family. You have to be just, and like some people, they're very heavy with others, but then they're not heavy with themselves, and then finally they have to suffer the reactions. Specifically, one has to be careful not to be cruel amongst Vaishnavas. Cruelty of any kind does not belong in a devotional community. And cruelty is that you do not feel that the sufferings of other people are unbearable. If you are the cause of other people's suffering without the absolute necessity for it, if there is any situation like that, then you become cruel. And cruelty is really a definite step away from loving God. Definitely. So, since our sole purpose of life is to achieve love for God, we have to be cautious to eliminate all kind of cruelty, even cruelty in the realm of thought. The tyranny in the realm of thought is when you do not allow other people to think freely and to decide to their fullest heart's content what they would like to do for Krishna. Spiritual life always means that there's a space for existing happily for everyone who has positive intentions. Some people are great devotees. Some people are not yet that great, but they want to become great devotees. Some people have many hang-ups and difficulties still. But whatever may be the condition, if somebody is actually coming forward in the spiritual path, he should already be considered a saint. Because only saintly people decide to go to the path of righteousness, the path of devotional service, the path of submission to the Supreme Lord's rules and regulations in life. So this is the point. We cannot expect perfect performance from others. And even though others may not perfectly perform, there is no need to minimize them or to make statements about them which kind of diminish or neglect their positive efforts which they do make. Of course, like in every community, in every temple, there has to be a mahant, there has to be somebody in charge who is actually trying to make everything work in the community, and that person in charge should also be given very much respect, and one should listen very carefully to him if he is not cruel, if he is not arrogant. Because if he doesn't have those good qualities, which sometimes happen, people get power and then they become arrogant. Things you didn't see before they got that charge. It didn't come out, but now they're in charge and they are behaving in a way which is unpleasant. So then we can understand that we need to make sure that our leaders are the most loving. And if some leader simply is not loving, don't think the spiritual master expects you to cooperate with such a person. He's not. He wants you to be loving, and he wants you to be a guardian of the loving nature of this world. The loving nature, which is so important. If there is no loving relationship, then the spiritual community as it is in jeopardy. The very key of a spiritual community's success is the loving and understanding area of devotional service, where each and everyone has space to do something nice. if you cannot do anything nice, if you cannot understand what is going on, if you cannot participate in something to serve your guru, then life is not so nice. So, Srila Prabhupada, he created a very great family. His family is so vast that anybody can participate in it. But after he left, some of his disciples started limiting that area to say that you can only be part of that if you give up your own personal thinking and just act according to my criteria and do what I say. Otherwise you have to leave this entire geographical area, because I won't tolerate or I won't give you any freedom for service in this realm. And it became so unbearable that people had to practically run away from their home to find Krishna somewhere else. Anyhow, maybe by that influence, Krishna consciousness reached more different areas of the world. So everything bad comes for some good reason as well. But nevertheless, we can use it as an example to show that within a spiritual community, everybody has to become a joyful member by being able to give the love he received from his guru to others. That is devotional service. Getting love and giving love. Nothing else but that. The nature of the spiritual message of Lord Chaitanya is getting love and giving love. Of course, first you're getting love. But then you're also expected to give love. If you don't give love, then what the heck you want to give? Give your nasty character? Sorry, we can better do without it. Give your arrogance, give your pride, give your puffed up mentality. Nobody wants that. Keep it for yourself. If you want to make an ugly face, then go in the bathroom, look at the mirror, and make any ugly face you want to yourself. But don't make ugly faces to others. Don't minimize others. If anybody in this world is insignificant, it's you anyway. If you think about other devotees, then be grateful that they tolerate your existence. That is vaisnava achar. And don't think, oh, I'm such a noble, blue-blooded, high elite member of this or that community, and I am so merciful to tolerate the presence of the others in my surrounding. Make sure you don't have such a mentality. This is very detrimental to spiritual growth. We all know these things in theory, but sometimes we fall into the unhappy situation of forgetting it and acting inappropriately in one way or another. So I thank you very much for coming to this lesson this morning, and thanks to Chitraketu, the great king, who actually was a great devotee and also went back to home, back to Godhead in the end. But he gives us this example of do not neglect, do not offend, do not minimize, do not make fun of other devotees. Also, do not forget that Vaishnava means Vaishnava dasa, 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 anudasa. That is Vaishnava. To be a true servant to the others. You cannot be a true servant to the Guru if you are not a true servant to the Vaishnavas. And you cannot be a true servant to Krishna if you are not a true servant to the spiritual master. Those who want to take a direct approach to the Supreme Lord, they become failure. It's not possible. And those who says, we are the Gurus because we are born in this family, we are the Brahmins because we are in this family, and we have the rights to give, others don't have any right to give, it means they simply have nothing to give. All they want is take. And they want to guard that privilege of taking from others. That is why they make up such concocted stories which are not backed up by Shastra, not backed up by the reality of spiritual development, but it is backed up only by their devious mentality of wanting to use everything in their personal sense gratification style. If we can help this world to be more humble, by becoming humble ourselves, we have done a great job. If we can accomplish to make this world more loving, by becoming more loving ourselves, we have done just the right thing. Be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Keep on the safe side.